All right, well, that's gonna be kind of a rough act to follow. Nice job. I do like, I think that's good. So I was kind of tasked, I do work full-time as a mountain guide. I do have like 5% of my income comes from writing books, things like that. But, more or less like just work as a mountain guide. I'm certainly not the only person in this room to do that. And so I'm not pretending that I have the only answer or all the answers. Certainly even all the other panelists have kids. There's at least several people here, Mark Allen, Matt Schoenwald, been guiding a lot longer than me. So I don't claim to have all the answers, not trying to play both holes.
Can't fake this.
Just how time works, balancing actually a lot of the stuff that Martin talked about. So just a lot of me. So I started my guiding career, actually worked for Mountain As 2006. And I work as a full-time guide. I am an IFMGA guide, and I'm married and have 2 kids, and I've lived in a house. I have a mortgage, but my wife works as a flight instructor, and we make it happen. So there is a way. Is it a hustle and some hard work? It is. But I also have some guidelines that I kind of help myself to steer decisions that actually kind of address a lot of things that Martin brought up, because I couldn't agree more. But yeah, just talking about guiding in general, because I do agree with Martin, and for a lot of us, for a lot of people, certainly when I got into guiding, it's a very dreamy career, right? You're taking people on these like sick adventures, and it's very like, I have a lot of just opinion. I tell people, I try to explain to people more half the time what I do for work, and people are like, oh, like that sounds amazing. And sometimes they don't always see how hard it is. Guiding is really hard work. And I think that's to help you have a long career guide, you just have to kind of accept that I kind of call it like blue collar. Whether you're like shoveling kick turns or like digging out, or like this is me cooking in like minus 42 degrees, or just setting up top ropes in the sun when it's way too hot and banded, right? Like what that blue collarness, what that hard work is totally varied on the day. But yeah, it's totally hard work. I think also sometimes people don't give enough credit for guiding is 100% a service industry job, right? Your job is to take care of people. Basically, all that hard work goes to making your clients have more fun, or at least a better time. And then when you get started, it's kind of rough, right? Like a lot of industries, there's like, I'd say most industries, you got to kind of put your time in. I feel like that sometimes you're early in your guide career, it does feel harder. You got to scrap more, you got to hustle more to kind of make it work. You're doing maybe not as cool of routes or tours or whatever you do. But I put this in literally because I knew Martin was going to hear. I knew he'd way outdo me on the graphs, but I had to have one, so I made up this graph. But I want to have something to give to Martin. So thanks. I agree with you guys. But just this whole idea of like, it's harder. Obviously your body doesn't hold up maybe over the years. But it does get easier to work the longer you work as a guy. You have more connections, you have more clients, you have more experience in different areas. So I do think if you can sometimes get through the initial difficulty, it does get easier. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I also want to step in and say I do agree with Martin in many ways that guiding is different for everyone and can change, right? You should always know what you want out of your guiding. You don't have to guide full time. You can guide part time. You can do what other work. That's what I think is nice about guiding. It can be, it's different for every guide, right? Because you should do it because you love it. Because that's why you guide. You don't guide it. I love being a guide. I don't do it. I do it to make money, but I choose guiding because there's nothing I would rather do. I don't choose it because it's the most lucrative. So if you're not loving it, you should figure out a way to either make yourself love it or figure out something. Even after all these years, people are like, oh, you still guide Mel Baker? I'm like, yeah, dude, I still guide Mel Baker. Like that. It's like, if you want to guide, if you do want to guide full time, I have plenty of cool trips every year, but I still guide Mel Baker every year. I still teach people to walk on snow. I still teach people to the summit of Mel Baker every single year. I still teach hell avalanche courses. I bet I teach at least 10 avalanche courses a year, sometimes more. Just because that's like how you make it work, right? Like it's just part of the game. People are like, I don't teach avalanche course anymore. I'm like, sick. I taught I think I had 11 here months last year, something like that. Because I still teach crevasse rescue courses, right? Sometimes in the parking lot at Alpatol. I still teach all kinds of introductory courses, right? I teach people, intro to track climbing, intro to ski touring, you name it, I've taught it, right? I do feel lucky that the longer I've guided, I certainly do get to go more cool places every year. Like last year, I took 3 different trips to Alaska. I guided in Japan. I guided in the Alps for a month. And so you do get more kind of interesting things, different high-end random things in the Cascades. And I still feel lucky that I do get to even now get to on-site guide every single year, right? Like it's not that I've run out of objectives, even in a place like the Cascades. I'm still getting to on-site guide every year, but still a ton of my work every year, making as a full-time mountain guide is just guiding trade routes, teaching out like basic courses, and you're never going to get away with that. So it's like one of the things you got to accept if you want to make it, at least guiding a significant portion of your income as a guide. Like you want to make it happen, you got to, there's more people who can climb the Tooth, can climb the Becky route, want to take an Area 1, than there are who want to go climb Goody in 2 days. It's like the spectrum of what folks want to do. And this I also feel quite passively enough about. And one thing at least helps me for like, I don't even know how many times I've climbed Mount Baker, like 150 times, something like that. I've climbed Forbidden probably like 50 or 60 times. Probably climbed Liberty Bell like 100 times. Who knows? But the one thing that actually keeps me going, that makes me just as psyched on every single Mount Baker climb, I know you just don't even believe me, but it's totally true. And Martin said like screensavers, I still get so much gratitude out of like having helped my clients to the top of things. I like cried on the summit of every Denali, every Denali summit they ever had, because I'm just like, so, I see these people, they're working like 150%, right? Every, past like 6 months, they're waking at like freaking 5 a.m. They're like doing whatever gym workout, they're training so hard for this moment, and you're there in that moment. And I feel like that is really special to be there for people. I don't have too many side tangents, keep it moving, but I had one really pivotal moment for that. It was actually I was guiding this lawyer here in Seattle. We had a big, long day. I can't remember on what peak, but I've guided him a bunch. Anyways, the lawyer in Seattle, anyway, we drove home, he dropped me off, whatever, and he took my rack by mistake. And so he's like, oh, yeah, like, just come to my office and pick it up. I'm like, oh, yeah, no problem. Like, I'll just swing by. So I walk into his office, and there's like this hallway going down to his to where his like receptionist is. And on the hallway, both sides are all the summits that we had ever climbed. Oh. And I'm just like, holy shit. I'm like, I took all of them. And they're all like blown up. And I'm like, I took every single one of these. It's all like him, like doing classic stuff. Like, I helped him with all his, I walk up to his reception, like, oh, I think Dan has some gear. She's like, oh my God, you're Ian. And I think that is one thing, like, again, as Martin said, like, you are people's screensaver. I do think for you, if you can remember that, I feel like it also helps you mentally in your guiding. Sure, for you, it's another lap up, Forbidden Peak, the Mount Baker, Shuckson, the Tooth, you name everyone has their trade routes, right? You can't get away from it. But if you can remember that the person you're taking that day, they will probably remember that as like one of the coolest days of their life. Even if it's just Mount Baker, it is like one of the coolest things. They will definitely never ever forget that they climbed Mount Baker. So you get to share that with people. And for me, that actually, that like sort of warm, fuzzy feeling I get from feeling that with people, that actually helps me quite a bit. That's why I don't mind guiding the trade routes, teaching the area course. I love freaking ski touring the Alps Valley. They're like, hey, you told my area Anyway, so that's a big part of it. I do think if you want to make it as a guide, getting AMGA training certifications just opens all the more doors. Maybe a couple decades ago, a decade ago, that was not necessarily the case, and now, like, you want to just work more different places. It's just like, sure, yes, you could have 20 years experience. That's going to buy you some serious credibility. But as the younger generation comes through, you don't have that like ridiculous amount of experience to just step in. It's a great way to kind of show your level of training and everything. So some tips to survive as a mountain guide. All right. So first thing, you got to not cut corners. You're the only one that knows like 99% of the time. It's not that I never ever cut corners, but you better be damn sure I make it count. Like, it's because I need to go fast. I don't do it because I'm like, I don't feel like fucking dropping 2 coils, right? That's like not why I'm cutting corners. It's not me being lazy. It's not like, oh, you're on play. Oh, we moved together for like 4 feet and I put the rope on the horn. We've all been there. We've all done it. But I just didn't have it of not doing it. Take the freaking 10 seconds. I love to feel like, I gotta teach alpine guide course for the AMGA. I love to like time people for how long it takes to like untie, drop 3 coils, retie, because it takes most of them who like don't have tons of experience like 15 seconds. But in their brain, they're like, oh God, I gotta stop, I gotta untie, I gotta drop it. I'm like, you spend more time explaining than just do it. So just freaking do it. So be good, don't be lazy. I think that's some good advice. So avoid cutting corners, right? Don't move in terrain you shouldn't. I've caught a few clients short rope, short pitching a few times, really unexpectedly. Every time I'm like, damn, I'm really happy that I was not being lazy in this moment. Like I've definitely been like moving the like hardcore short roping, knowing it's aggro, or like short pitching, had people slip and like, whoa, I can't believe they fell on that. And I'm like, well, I'm really glad I was blaming them and not moving together. So you never know in those steps. So don't be lazy. Break that rope out when you need it. This could be in like third class or climbing. This could be like skinning on a glacier. Like, don't be afraid to break the rope out. That just guideline alone is going to help you a lot survive your guiding career. Be diligent about your terrain selection, right? You really know the vast majority of the time you should drop it on that slope for nothing. You may feel the pressure of clients, maybe your own pressure to serve up the goods. We all feel pressures from all kinds of sources. But I feel like the vast majority of the time, most guides who have the experience, they know deep down if they should be there or not. So just be honest with yourself if you should be there or not. So basically, sorry, I kind of had this one already, just kind of put this together. Yeah, we're our own heuristics, you know. Don't get mentally lazy, especially in some of these routes we guide over and over. Don't just take that for granted. Don't be like, oh man, I've guided Forbidden Peak hell of times, right? I've guided like Shuckson so many times. Technical terms here, people, right? But I don't just like, oh yeah, is this one, is this one? I was like, well, how do you guide this? I'm like, oh, it just kind of depends. I try not to get mentally lazy in my decision making. I try to make like critically good decisions. I feel like that's gonna just kind of help me. Just like, don't get lazy. We can all get there, like, oh, I got stuck here. I use this like this. Just like, hey, maybe it's okay, maybe it's not. Just keep making those critical decisions. You know, take belays and putting gear out of good habits. You know, there's a handful of guys that have gotten real hurt falling. Early in my guiding career, I'm almost ashamed to admit this. I basically guide the Becky route without putting gear in, and I would try to, or even taking a belay for that matter, and I would just try to justify it as, oh, it's easier for the client to have gear to take out. And that's just so dumb. Just be good. Just put that gear in, like, fast, right? Like, and make it good enough so they can take it out. You all have the skill. Don't be like, I feel like, you know, you go through this cocky stage here, and I was definitely a cocky young guy. And I was like, whoa, that was so dumb. Like, how could I just do that over and over and over again? Just freaking, I literally punt. I put like one piece in the first 3 pitches of the Becky route, which is a terrible idea. And just like get in the habit, like just be good, put the gear, protect the pitch, not just the move, because most, like, if you're waiting for a hard move and you're guiding, you're probably never going to find it, right? But if you're just good, used to putting a couple directionals in there or a couple key pieces of gear is, that if you did take that unexpected whip, which I could give you a ton of examples of a lot of guys that even know who've fallen on extremely easy pitches, even third class, when they weren't expecting it.
So which piece was it on the Becky route that you played?
Traversing, you know, protect the first level. Here. It's called punching. Like the whole, like, I might clip like under the chalk stone so they can see the thing to pull on. Right. I just punch it all with anchors, no gear on any of those first images. And like gunning it. Anyway. Know that part. Like, that's good. Anyway, and just kind of recognize your margins of a given day. You kind of operate inside of it. Sweet. So, living as a mountain guide. All right. Hopefully this is useful. I'm kind of just actually a very free flow here. I'm trying to put this together from what Eddie was talking about. So, you know, find a good guide service or a good scene that fits you. Everyone's scene is different. Your scene can change, right? Like, you should like the people you work with. Guiding's hard work. We just talked about it. It's blue collar. It's a lot of labor. You gotta love it. You might as well find like a good crew that you like. You should like who you work for. You should like your coworkers. If you don't like them, you should like working independently. If you don't like work, you know, whatever you want to do, you should like that because it's freaking hard. So do what you like. I think some other things that help for maintaining as a guide is just kind of your physical. As Martin, you know, a lot of people break down. I think maintaining good physical fitness is like really key, right? Guiding is freaking hard work. And there are, you know, if you talk to like any PT, like peaks and valleys are like your enemy. And so, you know, guiding, especially here in Washington in the summer, takes like a super high level of fitness. Guiding midwinter is pretty high. And so just like trying to avoid having to re-climb up that ladder is just going to make you more resistant to injuries. And I'd say everyone in here, it'll blow you away how strong you are as a guy. You know, as example, I put all of you probably in this very similar category. One, during I had a long fall kind of slow period, so I decided to sign up for a 50 miler. I hadn't run longer than 15 miles in like 2 years, and I'm like, I bet I can do that. And this, I'm sure you could too. Like the guiding fitness, there's a guy who gets so strong. It's insane how strong you are. That's my time there with the I was hurting. I was hurting right there. It was technically 51.5 miles to be clear. Instead it was 50, but it's 51.5. I was hurting. I was at mile 40. I was like, oh my god, my legs hurt, but I'm gonna finish this thing. Anyway. What's that? Being a parent in a mountain guide. Again, now that you're parents, I'm not trying to say this is the only way. There's some words of wisdom I have. But being a parent, I'm a full-time mountain guide. Right, I've got 2 kids and a wife who I love very dearly, and I try to make the most out of all the time. So one of the best quotes that I ever heard in my entire life is, you can't make your kids love climbing, but you can make them hate it. And I think that's a very true statement. So my kids think climbing's fine. They think it's cool. They know I love it, and so I just try not to push it on them. And so that's some good wisdom I'd love to pass on. Don't make your kids. Be okay with that 1 hour ski day. Well, it is super annoying to drive all over to some point past from Seattle. I know you are Bend people. It's not as big of a deal. But they ski for like 1 hour, like we're done. Doesn't have to be as much anymore, but I think being mentally prepared for that early in your career with kids can be nice. Be tuned in and aware of what you want to get out of your guiding. I kind of said this earlier. Everyone's guiding is different, and I think it's really key to continuously stay tuned into it, right? Because there's no perfect amount for every person. I couldn't agree more. Like for some people, they just want to guide a certain time of year. Maybe they have another thing going on. Maybe they have to work another job to make their family scene work. Whatever, right? There's no right or wrong answer to it, and I think always being open to your mind is really important. Early in my career, I wanted to do a lot of big expeditions. I guided Denali like 10 times. Did that whole scene, did a lot of South American guiding, did a bunch of Ontario trips. I used to go to the Alps for like a month. I actually guided the Haute Route like 21 times, something like that, 22 times. Trips to Bolivia. So early in my guiding career, I just want to do all these big expeditions. I used to do a lot of long personal trips. I used to go to Yosemite for a couple months at a time and just go climbing. I go on a bunch of personal expeditions too. I climb new routes in Alaska, on the Waddington Range, in Patagonia. This is what I wanted. That's what I wanted. But now that I have kids, it's what I don't actually. It's not that it doesn't sound kind of cool, but I don't even want to go to go be gone from my family for a month. Sounds so unfun, right? And it's yeah, sure, it sounds cool, but I don't deeply want it. I think it's important to stay tuned into that. So, I get psyched on doing some route development, or I just have different goals that don't require me to be gone for months at a time. But I do think it's important to keep your climbing or ski goals, right? Maybe you're going to ski 5 volcanoes in 5 days or something ridiculous like that. Or ski from Snoqualmie to Canada. But there's plenty of cool options out there of whatever you can do. But I do think it's good to have those goals to keep you driven. I think it's important to want to climb and ski on your own as well as guide. I think that's a helpful, a really healthy balance. It helps keep your love for it. In my mind, they're really separate. After using to do all these expeditions, I did my last expedition when my son was 3 months old. That was a big mistake. Yeah, for both, my wife, for me, whatever. Anyway, just did everything out of wise. That was the last time. It's not that Denali wasn't rad. Not that I don't like Denali. It's not that I maybe never go back. But instead of having a ton of fun on that trip, I just missed my kids the whole time. And I was oh, that means I probably shouldn't be here, right? So I think just being aware of that. Now, I mainly do 1 to 5 day trips in the Cascades. It's most of my summer. The winter I'm mainly just day guiding close to home in Snoqualmie. It's not that I don't do a handful of trips, but they're not that big. I'll go to a hut. Or, I did a week in Japan. It was cut up from the scab on my neck, I'm bleeding. But, I went to Japan for a week. I did 3 different short trips to Alaska. They're all a week or so. Because the reason you're just going to be gone a lot, especially guiding the Cascades, same for the Sierra, you're just going to spend some time in the tent, just how the world works. Here in the Cascades, just not a lot of things are doable in a day, so you just end up sleeping a lot. So that means when I am around, I'm fully home. I actually plan my entire spring work schedule around Magnolia Little League. I live in Magnolia. I've coached all 4 of my son's baseball teams. My whole winter gets planned, Magnolia practice schedule, games come out, my entire schedule gets like squeezed in around that. I actually tell them the AMGA so early, like I need these times. I don't tell them that it's because of Magnolia Little League. They told me, yeah, for sure. I've coached several, like this is my son right there. This is my son batting. Gotta give him. You look at the ball in the air there. Isn't that cool? Anyway, this is my younger son right there in the middle. Eating the. I've coached several of the soccer teams, so I just like really try to coordinate that family life to make it work. When I'm home, I think it's hard for guiding. It took me a few years to learn this. I think guiding is so intense, especially when you guide high. You're like really revved up on this. I don't want to say it's adrenaline. I don't feel like I'm an adrenaline junkie, but it's like very intense work. You're like super high focus, making literal life and death decisions. And you got to go be present while you're like picking pumpkins. Picking pumpkins a few weeks ago. And I think it's important to like be able to step from like freaking like do or die, like keeping you alive. This is hardcore. To yeah, sick. Let's go pick some pumpkins. This is gonna be awesome. And I think that is like a hard trade-off. It's worth it to just be aware of that switch in your head. And because for me, I used to struggle with it. Now I'm like, all right, sick. We're family goal. This is awesome. Oh yeah, let's take that giant one. Or, whatever the case might be. I also really I have a list of days that I just like won't miss for any circumstance. Like birthdays. My family like loves Halloween for whatever reason. This is actually my son dressed up as a pickle sandwich, and in case you're wondering. But like first day of school, 4th of July, we love to go on Wallingford Avenue, watch fireworks. Like there's certain days I've just decided like I could get offered the coolest, most lucrative trip in the world. Like I'm not gonna miss it because this is like family day, and I feel like that's part of how I make it work because I don't miss some of these key days. I'm not just like, oh yeah, sick. What are we doing? One of my sons got to be an honorary Mariner and go on the field, so I freaking had to cancel like a giant trip because it was way in advance. But I had to cancel the trip to go to Safeco Field T-Mobile PR because my son was an honorary Mariner. He like loves baseball, which is pretty sick. And I try to be really genuinely psyched on what they are, which is generally pretty easy. Because again, they like climbing, they like skiing, but like they love baseball way more. So I just try to get behind that. They like cooking or dinosaurs or whatever else they're doing. I try to get honestly psyched on that. And kind of the end game, kind of wrapping this up. So in guiding, no one is really going to take care of you for the most part. So for all you young guides, any of you middle-aged guides who don't have it, freaking open a Roth IRA. I'm sure you'll get a financial client. You can bug about it. I was glad I had one early in my guiding career, and they're like, "Yeah, you have a Roth IRA, you should get that." I'm like, "Oh, really? Tell me about it." And so, like, you're not going to get a 401k likely in your guiding life, right? So start saving early. It's super ridiculously easy to sign up for. So you should start saving for retirement because no one's going to look out for you except you. And the longer you save, the better it's going to be. I know. So David's got a whole thing on this. You should watch it.
Check out the area YouTube channel.
There you go. Getting hurt. I had 3. I'm recovering from once. This is like high in my mind. I had 3 major injuries in my guiding life in 20 years. So I don't know if you think that's good or bad or whatever. But those could be deal breakers. Hopefully you're working, you get some good workers' comp. But I think it's really good to some other David, jump in. I think having at least 3 months of savings to survive if you also can't work, ideally up to 6. Just to help you survive the guide. I think that's another way you make it. Because inevitably you're gonna be hurt, something's gonna happen, you can't work. And so you just like gotta be planned because the margins are just thinner guiding, right? That's one reason to like stay strong. Every single one of my surgeries that I've had, like they give me X amount of time and I'm like back out in the field like in 60% of the time. And at least a couple of surgeons kind of described it as like, as a guy, you are just so ridiculously strong. But yes, you're falling when you get hurt. You're like falling down. You're not even like that a normal person. You're still like so ridiculously strong. You're like mountain strong. So not that you should re-injure yourself. Don't do that. Listen to them. But like every time for all my, I've torn my knee, I've torn my shoulder cuff. I just recently tore my bicep tendon like 7 weeks ago. Do what they say. As a guy, you're getting thin margins, avoid going to debt. That will definitely hose you. So really work hard with that as well. Cool. Questions, thoughts? I was a little over there trying to zip. I know that was very broad. I know that I'm not saying that's the end all be all. Those are some guidelines that helped me through. Thoughts? How to deal? Good. And is that you're going for? A very broad topic. It's like, how do you make this guy?
I've got a question for you.
Yeah, break down there, David.
How do you justify the amount of exposure that you take on? Or how would you recommend guys who are working a lot full time think about their overall risk when you're in the field, especially in technical terrain.
Oh yeah, no, so I mean, that's where you just try to operate the margin. You try to put gear in some kind of, you take that delay, you know, use like good techniques. You sure, is it riskier than working at Amazon? No doubt, right? But like, you hopefully can manage the risk for the most part to the point where it is reasonable to you. And I'd say that's the, you know, obviously you're gonna ski, I mean, I ski a ton of avalanche terrain. I've got a bunch of big objectives. And I just try to keep not cutting corners through all of those. And I think just try to stay super honest with myself because I'm the only one who knows. My clients don't know that I'm faking it, right? And so just being really honest with yourself. If you're the only one who sees it 99% of the time.
I got a question. On the topic of staying like as an employee for a service versus like an independent guy,
Yeah.
or like, can you tell a little bit more about like your process or like your decision to sort of stay on one side of that and not necessarily like go full independent, or like,
I mean,
are there that many spots like that work for that in the industry? You know, like
I bounce around quite a bit. I do a lot of different types of guiding, I'd say classic guiding work. I mean, I bet Aaron's going to kind of get into this more. I think there's pros and cons, and I think it's just about what you want your scene to be. You can make potentially more money, but you also have more work, as I'm sure Aaron's going to talk about. So I think, you know, there's pros and cons. So that more money, sweet, comes with more time, harder, if you're independent.
Hey, that
Yeah.
since we don't want to keep the
Yeah.
BD folks too
Yeah.
late,
Sweet. Take a picture.
so
of
we'll
this.
hold the questions till the end.
Great.
I hate to do it, but
Yeah, no,
Let's
that's
keep it
good.
rolling, but-
I'm not offended.
Well,
You know what? It's from 60.